Assalamu alaikum, dear sisters. Hope you're all really well. Welcome to this webinar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Dr. Hafsah Qureshi, in case you've not come to one of my webinars before. So we start in the name of Allah, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. So welcome, sisters, to this webinar tonight on managing our emotions and taking consistent action in light of the Gaza genocide that's happening at the moment. I really pray you find this webinar beneficial. It's been a tough time, I know. I've been getting a lot of reports from different sisters, so that's why I wanted to put on this webinar tonight. It's going to be an interactive webinar. Just give me a yes in the chat if you can. You can see my slides. Yeah, just give me a thumbs up. Can share the reactions. Yeah, great, excellent. Bismillah, excellent, great. So in this interactive webinar tonight, inshallah, we're going to be talking about how to manage and process our emotions so they don't overwhelm you and paralyze you, because I know it's been a very emotional time at the moment. By the way, sisters, if I can request if you all put your mics on mute, that'll be great. Thank you. Also, we'll be talking about how to keep taking consistent action on things that Allah will hold us accountable for, despite the heaviness that we're feeling in our heart at the moment, and despite that low motivation that some of us might be feeling with those heavy emotions. Also, we'll be talking about what we can keep doing, inshallah, for our Palestinian brothers and sisters. There'll be an opportunity as well for question and answers at the end and coaching. And inshallah, I hope you get lots of benefit from today. And it is interactive. It's a live webinar, so please type your comments in the chat. And any questions as well in the chat, and then there will be time for us to share and interact as well at the end, inshallah, after I've shared a little bit of content. So just for me to introduce myself to you, in case you've never come across my work before, my name is Dr. Hafsah Qureshi. I'm a GP in Lincoln, which is in the United Kingdom. I'm a mum of 3 children aged 8, 5, and 2, a wife, daughter, sister, so wearing those multiple hats. I'm also one of the founders and the current vice president of the British Islamic Medical Association, and alhamdulillah, our organization's been doing lots of work at this difficult time, alhamdulillah. I also volunteer in my local mosque, and also one of my other roles is that I've always been into personal development, and that journey, I've been on my own journey with, mental health issues and all that, but ultimately, alhamdulillah, that journey culminated in me becoming a professional certified life coach, because I wanted to, support my sisters on a deeper level than just being a GP allowed me to. And why I'm doing this webinar tonight is because, through BEMA, the work I do in BEMA, and through the work I do with my coaching clients, I run a coaching group called Khadija Life Upgrade Program. So through that and through friends, through conversations, I know that this is the time of high anxiety and distress, seeing what's going on in Gaza. This is my way of, inshallah, doing my bit, hopefully, to serve you and serve the ummah. And I've had that as well. This, the past couple of weeks, like this heaviness in my heart, and I felt that, when you feel that heaviness and you wake up with that heavy feeling, and you're having like sleepless nights, and then what that does is it takes a toll on you. Like you just feel like lethargic in the day. You can't be bothered to do things. I mean, you just feel slowed down. Your normal things like housework and exercise, and just the normal things that we would do, they kind of take a back seat. Just give me a yes in the chat if you can relate to that you felt that heaviness in your heart, and you felt that kind of that lethargy as a result. Just give me a yes in the chat. Yeah. So hopefully, yeah. And you just kind of get, what happens is you can just get glued to, your phones and social media, and that's all you do all day. And it really does take a toll on our mental well-being. And also, I know what it's like to be alone in that state and alone in that anxiety and not having that safe space to talk about it. So I wanted to give you guys that safe space to process emotions and for us to share with each other, inshallah. And it's my passion, to really share my insights as well with others. And that's why I became a coach in the first place. That's why I started the Khadija Life Upgrade program. So, inshallah, hopefully today I'll be sharing with you, how I've been sort of trying to manage my emotions. And this webinar I'm doing, I've been feeling really lethargic this past week, and this was my way of preparing for this, is like kind of coming out of my kind of rut and trying to, as I say, serve, inshallah. So I want to hear from you guys. Why are you here today, and what would you love to get out of this session tonight? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that actions are judged by innamal a'malu binniyat. Actions are judged by intentions. Everyone will get what they intended. So I want you just to take a moment just to renew your intentions as to why you're here, and just share in the chat why you're here tonight, and what you'd love to get, inshallah, out of this session. So if you can just share in the chat, just share a few comments. Want to feel better? Yeah. What else? Any other reasons why people have joined tonight? Just share in the chat. And just take a minute to think about it for yourself. Why are you here? What would you love to, how are you feeling now? How would you love to feel when you leave? Sense of community. I'm here to think about them without constantly crying, so I can think of them and be available emotionally for my own family as well. How to cope and carry on. I'm tired of having negative thoughts and would like to feel free, feel the comfort from other sisters, feel helpless, want to know how we can help. And that's what we did. Yeah. Overwhelmed by guilt. Yeah, that's a big one, big one. I think a lot of us have been on like half-term holidays, and maybe we've gone out on days with our families, and you feel that sense of guilt that here I am with my family, having a good time, and their kids are being bombed there, so you can't help but feel that sense of guilt, subhanallah. Been feeling quite alone in professional setting about what is happening, lots of silence with people I spend most time with. So we'll talk about today how to talk about it with colleague, some tips to do emotions. I'm anxious about what's happening, function in normal life without neglecting everyone and work, here to connect with sisters who may be feeling the same, overwhelmed, feeling helpless, learning how to manage my emotions of being helpless, take some tools to feel more stable. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing. I'm not, when I'm taking a break from social media, I'm not praying for them with the same intensity. So I don't know what to do. Okay, so like how to connect spiritually as well. Feeling how to feel motivated, feel frustrated, that kind of. Yeah, thank you guys for sharing. Can't even eat. SubhanAllah, that feeling in the stomach. Yeah, the heaviness. Feeling unwell, SubhanAllah, I can definitely relate to what you guys have put. So as I say, I hope that this serves you, inshallah, tonight. So, let's just face the facts, unfortunately, this is a genocide that is happening, where people are being, just killed. Over 8,000 Palestinians have been killed since the 7th of October, subhanAllah, over 8,000, and also including 100 over, reports of about around 112, perhaps more. This is yesterday's stats, so Allahu Alam, could be more now, probably more now, 112 in the West Bank as well, nobody talks about that in the media. 3,195 children have been murdered. Children, wide-scale destruction, no one's been spared. We've seen the hospitals being bombed, bakeries being bombed. We've seen the horrible images of children, doctors dying, healthcare professionals, 1.4 million people homeless and displaced. Yes, I can't even get my head around that number. But imagine 1.4 million people just told to evacuate, leave. Where are those people staying? Where are they sleeping? What is the sanitation like? We hear electricity, fuel, internet, water cut off, food shortages. What conditions must they be in? We can only, subhanAllah, imagine. And this is from the Save the Children, saying that, this is 3,195 children killed in Gaza in just 3 weeks, surpassed the number of children killed across the world's conflict zones since 2019. So it's crazy. I can't believe that this is happening in our day and age, 21st century, and yet the media narrative is so biased. It's unbelievable. So it's natural that this is taking an emotional toll on all of us. The Prophet ﷺ said, that the parable of the believers in their affection, mercy, and compassion for each other is that of a body. When any limb aches, the whole body reacts with sleeplessness and fever. So if we weren't feeling it's natural that we're feeling those emotions. If we weren't feeling those emotions, there'd be almost something wrong there. And you guys have been sharing, how you've been feeling. I can, as I say, definitely relate to how to some of those emotions you guys have described. But why do we have to manage our emotions? Look, I'm not here to say to you, don't be sad, don't be angry at the lack of, can't believe, the leaders. I know, sometimes I'm feeling sad, sometimes I'm feeling despondent, sometimes helpless, sometimes angry. Why aren't the leaders of the world stopping this, doing something? Why isn't the international? Well, why aren't people crying for a ceasefire? And actually, in the UN vote they did, about 100 countries did say ceasefire, but unfortunately, the powerful countries didn't vote for the ceasefire. So it's just the imbalance in the world as well. So yeah, all those emotions we're feeling, I want you to remember that those emotions are sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ, he felt anger, he felt sadness, he felt all these emotions, especially when it came to not for his personal reasons, but when it was to do with the ummah or whether Islam was challenged, he felt these emotions, and they're natural to feel. But what I want you to take away from today is that we want to be able to control and manage our emotions. We have to be able to manage those emotions rather than having those emotions control and overwhelm us. Okay, that is key. We feel those emotions, we allow ourselves to feel those emotions, but we must make sure that they don't overwhelm us to the point where we're neglecting ourselves, we're neglecting our kids, that we're just feeling paralyzed. Okay. So that's key. And why is that important? Look, what happens when we don't manage our emotions or are in a low, angry, despondent state most of the time? What impact does it have on us and others? Just share in the chat, what impact does it have when we are just despondent, low, if we're just in that lowest, that negative, sad, feeling guilty, feeling sad, feeling angry, feeling helpless? What impact is it having on ourselves and others, and on our responsibilities as well? You share in the chat. Losing hope, no motivation to do anything. It spills into other parts of our lives. Yeah, that's it. Losing hope. My son gets really worried and asking several questions. We can't function. Neglecting my kids. Yeah. Less patient with my own family and friends, can't think, can't act as normal. Yeah, that's a big one. You snap at your kids, you take anger on others. Exactly. You can't, you have major exams, you can't study. Yeah, it's affecting relationship with spouse. See, we don't want that to happen. That's it. That's the thing. With snapping at our kids, I can definitely relate to all of this. But that's why it's important for us to be able to manage our emotions. As I say, we want us to be able to manage them rather than them control us, because when we don't, it's we like I said, we comfort eat, less exercise, we can't be bothered to do anything, we're snappy, we have poor sleep, and really we're in that state as well. We can be more susceptible to shaitan's waswases. I talk about kind of being in our higher state self, where we're kind of connected to Allah, grateful, in that kind of peaceful state, and then lower self state is when we're just feeling anxious and depressed and feeling that's the state where we are actually more susceptible to shaitan's waswas. We can be we can have a thought well, why should I bother signing this petition? It's not going to make a difference. And then what happens is shaitan, when you're in that state, he whispers to us, you're feeling rubbish, go have a chocolate bar, or there's no point going to that protest, there's no point writing that letter, what difference is going to make anyway? So the thing I need you to realize is that when we're emotionally regulated, we are then in a better place to take action. We have more energy. We want to be emotionally regulated so we can actually take the action that Allah is going to hold us accountable for. Because the Palestinians, our brothers and sisters, they have their test. They will pass their test, inshallah, with flying colors. But it's we have our own test, and we need to be in that state where we can pass our test, because Allah is going to ask us what we did. So that's why this is a really, really important conversation to have. So how can can't focus at work, just checking in, confused, as everyone's showing different point of view, overloaded. So so how do we manage our emotions in the state? And what I want to share with you guys today is the key to managing our emotions really is understanding how emotions work. That's the top. I'll give you a bunch of tools as well, but like first of all, I want you to really understand and take away today like how our emotions work, because when you can't solve a problem. I think it's Stephen Covey said this, you can't solve a problem at the same level it was created. So in order to solve a problem, you need to kind of go one level above, go meta. So we need to understand how emotions work in order to be able to manage them. Similarly, like we needed to understand germ theory, we need to understand how infectious diseases work in order to be able to challenge, to be able to counteract germs, So similarly, like we need to understand how emotions work in order to be able to counteract it. And what I want to share with you guys today is this theory, which if you've come to my other stuff before, you probably come across this before, but it's relevant here as well, that where do our feelings come from? It comes from, I really, really, really want you to take this away today. That where are our feelings coming from, moment to moment to moment. So guys, what I want you to realize that our emotions are constantly fluctuating. Like even in this Palestinian crisis, at times you may have been, since this has been going on, since 7th October, like, you may have, at times you may have felt sad, at times you might have felt angry, at times you might have felt helpless, at times you might have felt guilty, at times you may have felt happy because actually you're not thinking about the Palestinian conflict at all. You're just spending, having a laugh with your kids, so emotions aren't fixed, they're always fluctuating. And what I want you to realize is that emotions are always fluctuating based on what's going on in our mind, in our thoughts at that very moment. So our feelings are always coming from our thoughts in that moment and nowhere else. And this is something that not many people realize. Like, this is not something that's spoken about in school, although it should be taught in schools. But most people think that our feelings, our emotional, our mental state is coming from the circumstances that we're in, or other people, or the past, or the future, or what's happening in Palestine. That's why I'm feeling depressed, or that's why I'm feeling sad. It doesn't quite work like that. Now, some people might realize that, okay, yes, the circumstances are partly the reason I'm feeling rubbish, but also thought has a role to play as well. But what the inside out understanding that I teach is that, actually our feelings, emotions, our mental state in any given moment is in the present moment is only is 100% just coming from what our thoughts are in the present moment and nowhere else. That's where it's coming from. That's how emotions work, like how the heart pumps blood around the body. That's how emotions work. Our thoughts generate our emotions. Our emotions are a physical feeling in our body that we in reaction to a thought that we then go and label as an emotion. So we might feel like a heaviness in our heart, or a racing of our heart, and we label that as anxiety. But what it is it's a reaction, it's a physical reaction to a thought going on in our body. So there's lots of studies that have showed even thinking about something stressful can trigger cortisol that then without even a stressful stimulus necessarily, but just thinking about it causes a stressful stress reaction in your body. And that's why a lot of us, we are in a state of chronic stress because we've always got chronic overthinking. So what this is, like, I really want you to realize this isn't a mindset, it's not a technique, this is just a fact, and a proof of this hopefully for you guys is that over the past few weeks you've been feeling it's the same circumstance, people are being killed, the genocide is happening, but at different moments in any given day, even think about today, you've probably felt a spectrum of emotions, and it's because your thoughts have been fluctuating. Now, what with this knowledge, the next part to realize is that how do we then control our emotions is we become conscious of the thoughts going on in our mind. And then the consciousness of the thoughts going on in our mind is that space for connection back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like ultimately, our thoughts that we're having, ultimately Allah is the controller of everything, right? Allah is the controller of everything. So ultimately, Allah is the one that's even allowing those thoughts to happen in our mind, and then those emotions. And if we want to really again, it's about when you realize in any given moment that was my thought causing my emotion, that's your access point back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be like, to bring Allah to mind. Because when Allah comes to your mind, that's the ultimate top tool I have to share with you to manage your emotions. And I'll talk about this more in a moment. But I just wanted to share this understanding, and I go a lot, this is a whistle stop. So just a brief introduction to this understanding. I go so much deeper in my program, the Khadija Life Upgrade program, about explaining this. And when you get this, when it lands, when you have the insight that this is the truth of this, it will change your life. Because just imagine how liberating it is to realize, guys, that your emotions do not come from your circumstances. They do not come from any person. They do not come from how much money you have. Your emotions just only ever come from your own thoughts. Like, that is so empowering. It's so empowering when that really lands for you and you get it. Like, because nobody can control your thoughts. This is the thing. Nobody can control your thoughts except you, Allah, and to a degree you. But no outside person can control your thoughts. Get that? So therefore, no outside person can control your emotions. Sure, they can influence your thoughts, but they can't control it. And that distinction is key. So with that, you have the access to, when you understand that, you have access to something I call the Sakina switch, which is when you then remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you remember Allah, that is your key. When you remember Allah in the equation of all of this, that these atrocities are happening, but Allah is watching, Allah is most just, Allah is most powerful, and He's watching everything, then that will give you instant relief. Like Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Ar-Ra'd, verily in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. And when you the first step is become aware of the emotion, then ask yourself, well, what is the thought right now I'm having that's causing that emotion? When you become aware of that, when you become conscious of that, then that's your access point to then connect your thoughts back to Allah, inshallah. And that's how we use our emotions to enhance our spirituality. So when you connect your thoughts back to Allah, you'll get instant, inshallah, emotional comfort just from remembering that, Allah's role in all of this, that, look, Allah is watching everything. Allah is the most just. He is the most merciful. And this life is just a short test. Just so short. Like, so when you look at it from that lens, it really brings comfort to the heart that, those people who are suffering, they're suffering immeasurably, but inshallah, Jannah is awaiting them. And so I want you guys to take this away, that our emotional experience of life comes from the lens we use to view it. And you can have a dunya lens of viewing it, that, look, people are being murdered, people are being bombed, people are being massacred. That's the kind of the dunya lens. And all, that all these, nobody's doing anything, that's the dunya lens. And, we're in the dunya, so we have the dunya lens, but also have the akhirah lens, that, look, actually, these people, they're martyrs, inshallah, and they are going straight to Jannah. They're going straight to Jannah, and they'll want to have that death, I'll talk about this in a moment, but they'll want to have that death over and over again because of what they know is awaiting them in the akhirah, So it's about having the akhirah lens and realizing that Allah is the controller of all. So yeah, as I say, when you're overwhelmed with emotion at the injustice, the scale of the violence, the lack of help from world leaders, and you're feeling that anxiety, sadness, fear, helplessness, guilt, remember Allah in the equation of reality. Like, remember Allah is the controller of all that. We don't see Allah, so we don't always realize that, but remember Allah in the equation of that reality. And this a dhikr that I keep telling myself this over and over again, and keep doing this dhikr, that la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, that there is no power or might except Allah. Like, He is the controller of everything. And I want to remind you of this ayah as well. Allah says in the Quran, like, do not ever think that Allah is unaware of what the wrongdoers do. He only defers them until the day when the sight stare in horror. So, Allah is going to hold all these, all the tyrants, He'll hold them to account. And also look at it from the other angle as well, that the martyr does not feel the pain of being killed, except as one of you feels the pinch of an insect bite. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. So as I say, you have the dunya lens, but also when you view things from this akhirah lens, and remember your view of the world, and I teach this all the time in my program, that your experience of life will come from the reality is one thing, but your emotions that you're feeling is not from the reality itself. It's from the lens you're using to view the reality. So you've got to wear the goggles of the akhirah. You've got to wear the goggles of, Allah's in the equation. that if you wear those goggles, normally in sort of normal sex, I'm always talking about in my program, wear the goggles of gratitude. There's always a way to, how are you seeing things? So it's that filter that you're using to see the circumstance. So from the Akhira lens, then, what is the state of the people in Gaza? Look, as I said, this a hadith that the martyr does not feel the pain of being killed except as one of you feels the pinch of an insect bite. So there's a story in, there's so many accounts, subhanAllah, that have been coming through from Gaza. So many accounts, like this one where this lady is saying, if you could see the sky of Palestine, you'd wonder waves of angel racing to ascend. The smell of perfume in the air, instead of being like horrible, smell of rotting bodies, it's a smell of perfume. So, these are people in Gaza. As one, I've seen Instagram videos of they're telling us to be patient, saying, don't worry about us, Allah will take care of us. Their faith is so strong, subhanAllah. So yeah, this is a lady in Gaza who's reminding us of this hadith that the martyr only feels the pinch where we see bombing and terrible injuries and wounds, but they just feel a pinch. The martyr wishes that they would die for his sake 1,000 times, to keep dying for his sake and come back. I am now seeing things in Gaza. If you saw them with your own eyes, you would die of joy. These martyrs are alive and eternally provided for from their sustainer. And there's another account that came through today on that this woman, subhanAllah, she was standing on one side of the road and her son was running across the street to her, right? And as he was running towards it, a bomb hit him and he burst into pieces, subhanAllah. And imagine that sight, seeing your son, subhanAllah, die in that way, subhanAllah. But she asked Allah for strength because the way her baby died looked so painful. So she slept that night and she saw her son running in Jannah that night in her dream. She asked him, oh, my son, are you okay? Did it hurt? How are you? And the son replied, smiling, saying, oh, Mama, I don't know what happened. I remember running towards you because you said, come, come. Then I felt the smallest pinch and then I kept running in Jannah and then stopped. I'm safe, Mama. Can you imagine? It's as if it was a time capsule. So this boy is describing in this dream to his mother that he's running towards, these bombs are falling upon him. And then suddenly he turns around and he's still running in that motion, but he turns around and suddenly he's in Jannah and he didn't even realize when that transition occurred. So subhanAllah, these are the accounts coming through. These are the accounts coming through, sisters, and so we have to see it from that lens as well. And this, I'm sharing this because this is something that can bring peace to the heart. The children, so many children dying, but they're children of Jannah, and they will intercede for their parents. Inshallah, it says in another hadith that those children who die intercede for their parents in the Akhirah and take them to Jannah. Now, obviously, it's natural to flip between the dunya lens and the akhirah lens. I'm not saying we shouldn't be sad because like I'm shared this with you guys now, so no reason to feel sad. We're not unfortunately enlightened like that. It's natural that we're gonna see the atrocity and we're gonna feel all those different emotions. Like I said, we'll feel the outrage, you'll feel the but. And in a way, maybe it's Allah's blessing that we can't, it's not that we have the insight and then we stay in that place forever. Because if we were just like, oh yeah, we didn't feel that sadness, then it's like, people would be like, people who haven't had the insight would be like, well, what's wrong with you? Like, are you cold-hearted? What is it? So maybe the fact that we flip between the two states, the akhirah lens and the dunya lens, it gives us that empathy. Perhaps, I don't know, that's the wisdom. But it's just so you will have those flits even despite this. I will have this flit even though I'm sharing this with you today. So I just want you to bear that in mind, that I want you to have the insight of the akhirah lens and the dunya lens, but also that it's natural that you're going to flip between the two. So, given that emotions come from thoughts and not circumstances, here are some other tools that you can use when you need to regulate your emotions. Okay, so these are just, so now you guys shared with me at the beginning that this is stopping me, it's paralyzing me, I can't revise for my exams, I'm snapping at my kids, arguing with husbands, neglecting things. So say you're feeling really emotional. given that feelings come from thoughts in the moments, what can, one tool you can use is that sakina switch. Try and remember that, okay, Allah, Allah's controlling everything. But also other things you can do, and this is stuff you'll hear all the time in personal development stuff, well-being and mindfulness and all of this. But you can hug your children. I really recommend hug your children tight, hug your spouse, hug your parents, hug your family. This is a really good emotional regulation tool that will instantly calm you down. Go for a walk, exercise. Deep breathing techniques is doing some deep breaths, fully emptying your mind of any thoughts and putting it fully in your putting your thoughts, putting all your focus in your breathing. That really helps regulate emotions. That also has a physiological effect as well of counteracting that fight or flight sympathetic nervous system response in your body and triggering the parasympathetic nervous system to calm you down. Reading Quran is so like at this time as well, subhanallah, like I've read so many ayahs that have really brought me comfort. Use your salah as well, like talking to Allah, asking him, you alone we worship, you alone we ask for help. These are some of the tools you can use. There are many tools, guys, that you can use to regulate your emotions, but I want to go one level higher and show to you that actually why any of these work is because they change your thoughts in the moment. Ultimately, that's what you need to do to change. You need to use a tool, any of these tools, and maybe share in the chat what works for you when you're feeling emotional, and you need to regulate your emotions, what works for you. Anything that changes your thoughts will do that, basically, because our feelings are coming from our thoughts. And if you ever wondered, why does mindfulness work? Why does looking at trees or focusing on 5 things I can see, like why does that help with my emotions? Why does that actually help? Sorry, someone said talking fast. Sorry, when I get passionate, I do tend to talk fast. So apologies for that. I'll try and slow down. But yeah, share with me in the chat, like what works for you. Sleep, because sleep you can't think anymore, so that it calms down your emotions. Istikhara, fresh air. Yeah, people are sharing what is helping them works to change their thoughts and calm them down emotionally. Dhikr, yeah, absolutely, dhikr. Now, I want you to note something as well, that, you can also turn to destructive things like comfort eating. This is why comfort eating works. It's not that eating the food is actually making you feel better. People think that, it's when I eat chocolate, I feel better. I get that all the time, but it's not the chocolate that's making you feel better. The chocolate doesn't have any special magical powers. It's the fact that you're focusing on the taste in that moment, that therefore you feel better in that very moment, but then 2 minutes later, you feel guilty that you eat the chocolate and then you feel bad again. So it doesn't work in the long run. So, this is why people turn to alcohol or drugs. They think because it numbs their mind. They're not thinking anymore, but it only works obviously short term. So we don't want to turn to the destructive things. We want to turn to the constructive things to inshallah regulate our emotions. Okay, so just take a moment and maybe actually make a note of 2 or 3 tools you can use that when you're feeling, you've seen loads of horrible images on social media, but then you've got to cook you got to go to work, or you got to get the kids ready, or kids about to come in from school and you don't want to greet them crying. So what can you do just to calm your emotions down? Just write it in the chat, or nothing happens without the will of Allah. Just to write down what you're going to do, because I want you to have some tangible takeaways from this session tonight, inshallah. All right, guys, so just check the chat there. Dhikr, excellent. So guys, next thing I'll talk about is that we have to keep taking action, despite the heaviness. We've got to keep taking action despite the heaviness. And, because remember, Allah will not hold us to account for what we can't do, right? Allah will not hold us to account for things, there's a lot of us, we wish we could do more, but Allah, we're obviously limited. We have to work within, and can only do what we can do. So Allah will not hold us to account for what we, can't do, but He will hold us to account for what we can do. And He will hold us to account for, our salah, are we looking after our kids, the basics as well. So we can't neglect that. And so how do we carry on despite that heavy heart? So the first message I like to give you is, focus on what you can control. Like this is another great diagram I like to use, that there's things that we can directly control, like what we're doing with our time, like what actions we're doing. Are we doing our salah? Are we reading Quran? Are we doing the cooking? There's certain things we can influence, like we can go to a protest, we can write to an MP, we can try and influence them, but we can't control them. Other people are something you can't control. And then there are things that are completely outside our control and influence. So what the global leaders are doing, that's outside our control and influence. But we can, so think of it in that terms, like what can you control, what can you influence, and focus most of all on what you can control, which is ultimately your action. And you're going to be held accountable for what you did with your time. Remember that. So one of the things I like to teach is that when we're feeling heavy-hearted, or we're just feeling meh, or we're just feeling like low in energy, habits save the day. This is why creating good habits is so important, because I want you to be able to do actions that as easy as, you don't think, even if you're feeling heavy-hearted, it's not like you don't, brush your teeth or go to the toilet or, drink water, you eat food, like you tend to do those things anyway as a habit. Like as a habit, you get out of bed, you probably have without even thinking, you do certain things, right, each day. So this is where the power of habits, like when you create good habits for yourself, it's like emotion, you won't let emotions get in the way of doing that, because it becomes automatic. And I want you to automate things so that things you do for your well-being, things that are good for you, you do. Things that are good for you and good for your well-being, you will do regardless of how you're feeling. Because ultimately, initially, you might not feel like doing it, but if you do it anyway, because it's a habit, then after you do it, you'll feel good if it's a good habit. And part of, again, what I teach in the Khadija Life Upgrade program and with my coaching clients is help them create habits so that, because it's not easy to create habits on your own. Obviously, we have habit gravity, our old habits pull us back. That's the hardest thing to overcome, is, creating new good habits for ourselves. So you need that accountability, you need that support. But when you create good habits, it really saves the day. And so one of the ideas I want to share with you guys is, to keep going in these times, try and create what I call a morning success ritual for yourself and an evening success ritual for yourself. So have things that you do every single day, regardless of how you're feeling when you wake up. Because I've certainly had it this week where I've just woken up with this heaviness in my heart and you can't be able to do anything. But if you just go, no, morning success ritual, it really helps, kind of get you going. So, for example, my morning success ritual, something for your body, something for your spirituality, something for your mind. So, drink some water, do a little bit of exercise. I tend to do a little bit of sit-ups and pelvic floor exercises, drink some water, do my wudu and salah, maybe make the hajjud part of your ritual as well now, making dua for the Palestinians. And then also, making a detailed personal dua. I teach that as well. Really, really powerful habit when you create that, like asking Allah for all your goals and challenges directly first thing in the morning. Super powerful habit. And then reading 5 ayahs of Quran, at least with translation in the morning, so you connect to Allah first thing in the morning. Super, super powerful habit. So this is like what I call a morning success ritual. And you can change it. It's different for each person. Just giving an example of what I do. I would love to read more Quran. I'd love to do more hifz, but I've got a 2-year-old. I've got little kids, so I'm not always able to do that. Morning adhkar as well. Really, I tend to play that while getting my kids ready for school. Really, it'll change your mind. It'll change, because your feelings are coming from your thoughts. Again, when you're connecting to adhkar, Quran, it'll make you feel better, and then it'll get you going for the day. And similarly, evening success ritual, look, like I don't, with my evening success ritual, again, very simple, spending quality time one-on-one with my kids in the evening, with my husband, and also, doing some evening adhkar, doing some Quran, doing Surah Mulk, very simple ritual. But again, if you make it like a conscious thing you're doing, it'll really, really change your life. Like just spending 5-10 minutes quality time just with your full focus and attention, giving that to your spouse, giving that to your children, can make such a difference in your relationships. Also having a chores plan, again, so that your chores are getting done without you necessarily thinking, like, you just have without kind of an autopilot, getting the cooking and getting the laundry done. When you have a chores plan, again, this is something in the Khadija Life Upgrade program I help my sisters to create. It's really, really powerful. So you're not having to think about things and they're just getting done. So again, what I'm trying to say is habits save the day here. When you have that heaviness, and then also when you have those good conscious habits that you've created for yourself, no matter how you're feeling in the day, it'll make you feel better afterwards, get you going for the day. And what I would say as well, sisters, is right now, it's easy to check our phones straight away in the morning and check the news. I would advise, like, don't check the news straight away in the morning. Don't check your messages straight away in the morning, because that will really weigh you down, and again, stop you getting maybe ready for work, or make you late for getting the kids up for school, and then you end up snapping at your children. So maybe have a time, maybe 1 or 2 times in the day day where you check your social media, check the news, and then share the, you know, relevant stuff as well. I'll talk about that in a moment. But don't be always 24/7 plugged to your phone. Right now is not a good idea. Yeah, right. I think that's what I want to say about that. Okay, right. And yeah, the other thing is, you know, so again, why do it now? Coming back to, so that was about kind of our everyday responsibilities. And then also, obviously, we want to now take action, consistent action, that is, to help our Palestinian brothers and sisters. So what can we do? So again, why was I saying we have to manage our emotions? It's because so we can take like consistent, inshallah, consistent action. Look, like I said, just because they're martyrs doesn't mean we think, oh well, you know, guys, they're martyrs, so we should be happy for them and we carry on. No, we doesn't mean we have an obligation to challenge the injustice. Like, let's be clear, like we have an obligation to challenge the injustice. But we have to, in order to have the energy to do that, we have to regulate ourselves first. The Prophet ﷺ said that whoever sees a wrong being committed, let him rectify it with his hand. If he is unable, then with his tongue. If he is unable, with his heart. And this is the weakest of faith. So we have an obligation, guys, to challenge what is happening and to, you know, support our Palestinian brothers and sisters to the best of our capacity. And that's what, you know, so we still have to take action, even though we can do that from a regulated place of like you're not feeling that intense, overwhelming emotion, if that makes sense. So what can we do to support our brothers and sisters, inshallah, in Gaza? So what I want to share with you guys is a immediate direct action plan and then an indirect long-term action plan, inshallah. So the immediate direct action plan, guys, is, you know, what's been going around on social media is, you know, from a spiritual perspective, we need to do obviously loads and loads of dua for them, use this as to energize you, to motivate you to create the tahajjud habit, to create a salatul duha habit, you know, do those extra nawafil and make dua for your brothers and sisters, do extra, you know, many people talk about, oh, I want to do the Monday and Thursday sunnah fast, like try and incorporate it now, do the sunnah fast and make dua, inshallah, for your brothers and sisters, because dua, of course, is, you know, Allah can change anything and Allah will always answer our duas. He'll either answer it or he'll answer it with something better. So, you know, dua doesn't go unheard. So make dua for your brothers and sisters. And then from an so that's super important. Then from an economical point of view, you know, we can obviously donate to charities that are still on the ground doing things. Again, you know, I can share on that. If you haven't joined the WhatsApp group, by the way, Mindsets and Habits of Success, join that, and I can share different links with you. Lots going around anyway, but donate to charities that are still on the ground. I think One Ummah is still there, Al Khair is still there. Islamic Relief, I think, I'm not sure about Islam, Medical Aid for Palestine are there. So, you know, there's still charities on the ground getting in. So keep donating. Also, you know, boycott, you know, companies that support the genocide and supporting the military that are doing this. So boycott those companies. Again, there's a really good link going around at the moment. I can share it, or if someone can share it on the chat, in fact, one of the KLU sisters, if you're joining this, if you can share in the chat that link that link to the tells you which companies to boycott. It does have an effect. If, again, it's all about the Muslims uniting, so we can do that to try and create some pressure. And then we've got to, the biggest thing we need to do is challenge the narrative as well and spread awareness. So I was listening to it, like a Yasser Khadi talk, and he was talking about, like, look, there's two battles taking place right now. One is that on the ground, which, you know, we don't have that much power to influence, but the battle for the narrative, the story, the challenging the propaganda, spreading awareness, that is something that we all have a role to play. We all have a role to play. And we can't say, it doesn't make a difference, so I'm not going to bother, because Allah's not going to say, did it make a difference? Allah's going to say, did you do it? On the day of judgment, he's going to say, did you do it? Did you write to your MP? Did you attend the protest? Did you sign the petitions? So do all those things. We don't know ultimately what will make a difference, what won't, but we know that we've got to take action and then leave the rest to Allah. Like Allah, that's all we need to do. So, as I mentioned, I'm a vice president of British Islamic Medical Association. Alhamdulillah, we've been doing amazing work. This brothers and sisters in the different groups, in the Palestine Response Group there, written to the Prime Minister, written to the GMC. So we've got to write to significant organizations. We've got to, make a stand, inshallah, with wisdom, inshallah. And like I say, we've got to spread that awareness to change the narrative. Yasir Hadi was saying, look, there's 30 to 40 million Muslims in the West. If we all shared, if we all aim to like share that awareness with 5 people who might not be aware of what's going on, or who might not know, who might just, the only source of information for them is the mainstream media. If we just share with 5 people about the other side of the story, then we can make a big difference. We've got to play, it's that public opinion game. That's what puts pressure on governments to call for ceasefires and things. So like I say, so how do we spread that awareness? So firstly, social media. And what I would say is, if you're on social media, check the news and social media, not like maybe twice a day, like give yourself half an hour a day maybe to do this, where you check and then you share the relevant tweets, relevant things on whatever platforms you're on. Do share, especially, with non-Muslim colleagues and friends. And then the other thing is having conversations, just having conversations with colleagues and friends as well. And look, guys, we've got to do this with wisdom. The Prophet ﷺ said, invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction. Debate with them in a way that is best. Okay, so you have to invite with wisdom. You have to do it in a way that will land for them. There's no point you have to do it in a very wise way. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he talked to Musa alayhi salam about how to, invite Fir'aun, he said to Fir'aun, he said, and his brother Harun, he said, go to Pharaoh, for he has exceeded all bounds. Listen to this in Surah Taha, as we're just reading this today. Allah says to Musa alayhi salam, speak to him gently so that he may take heed or show respect. So we've got to speak gently. Like Allah told Musa alayhi salam, imagine, to speak to Fir'aun gently. So as with our colleagues, we shouldn't be coming from a place of anger. This is why being emotionally regulated is important, and in a way that it lands for them. So how do we broach the subject? How do we talk about this? So I wanted to share like maybe a framework with you guys. So in work all the time, often your colleagues will in the coffee room, or when you meet your friends, they might be like, hey, how you doing? Or how are you? It's a common question that people ask. So most of the time we're like, oh yeah, fine, whatever, right? So but actually right now we're not okay, guys. So share why you're not okay. So your colleague might casually ask you like, how are you? Okay, so then when they ask you, how are you? Tell them the truth. Say, what, actually, I'm not feeling okay. I'm feeling quite sad at the moment. So they'll probably naturally say, obviously read the room. Like if they're in a rush, you don't want to necessarily go off for talking about, you have to be very present in the moment. You have to be in tune. You have to be wise. But if you're having a coffee together, then you can say, they're going to be, oh, what's up? Why are you feeling sad? And then you say, well, so many people, 8,000 people have died in Gaza. 1 million children are suffering in Gaza right now. So many, over 3,000 children have died. Innocent children did not ask to be born into this conflict. So, build the narrative in such a way that you're going from a place that they will agree. Okay, because everybody can agree that children, this isn't about who's like, we don't launch in straight away who's right, who's wrong in this conflict, but everybody can agree that innocent children, wherever they are in the world, don't deserve to be killed, don't deserve to be victim to bombing, and everyone can agree to that. So that's a good kind of line to start off with. Focus on the humanitarian angle when you're talking, with our colleagues, friends. Focus on the humanitarian angle. Okay. So say all these children have died, and then you can mention as well like documentaries or programs you watch that might educate them. Like, so for example, recently I watched this documentary, and if it's on Netflix right now, guys, called Born in Gaza. I think it was recorded maybe after the 2014 conflict, and it's just really, really like it shows the human story of these children. So I recommend it, by the way, Born in Gaza. It's on Netflix right now. Watch it and then ask your colleagues to watch it. And just say it's really, really sad, and suggest that they watch it. And as I say, build the case for that it's all innocent life, innocent in our religion, innocent civilians shouldn't be killed. It's really sad to see innocent civilians on all sides die and suffer. But say like the number of casualties on the Gazan side is just so much. Like now over 8,000, we don't know what's happening. 1.4 million people displaced. And say I just say where you're feeling you can't see this. And then you can, say, people say, then it might, again, read the room, but the Israeli narrative is very united and very strong, that Israel has a right to defend itself. We hear this all the time. People are saying this all the time, all the leaders, all the politicians. So what's the other side? Well, we can just say, yeah, okay, even if you agree, even if that is what is said, but yeah, but Palestinians and Palestinian children have a right to life. They have a right to life. They have a right to safety. They have a right to food. So you can say it in that way, like, again, building it in a way that nobody can, inshallah, disagree with. And share articles from, say, The Guardian. There's really good article I can share again on that Success Mindsets group, from The Guardian newspaper, from Amnesty International, from World Health Organization, from the UN, that is showing, the scale of the humanitarian impact of this. Share that stuff. Don't necessarily go straight for the Al Jazeera articles or sharing those type things with them, because they might, but things like Amnesty International, World Health Organization, nobody can disagree with sort of their reporting. So build that, always, whenever, and this is, by the way, guys, applicable as a communication strategy with anybody, whether you're debating something with your spouse, with a colleague, with your children, build it in a way from that people can, build the communication on shared agreement, like build it gradually. And again, this is something I teach in the Khadija Life Upgrade program, but in this context, I want to share this with you. And if you've got then a little bit more time as well, also always be checking in, like what people say, like don't just give a monologue, like make it a conversation, educate with wisdom, with hikmah. And also it's worth saying that this this hasn't happened, the 7th of October attacks, they didn't happen in a vacuum. There's been 75 years of illegal occupation, so you can share that as well, inshallah, if you have a bit more time to kind of talk to, if people are talking, have a bit more time to talk to you. Just for us as well, we need to educate in order to have that conversation of the wider historical context. We need to educate ourselves as well, that look, guys, this was the case in 1946. Only, the Jewish people only had kind of 76%, sorry, I think it was only off the top of my head, I think they only had 7 or 13% of the land, one of the two. And then, so this was the case in 1946. So then when the UN drafted this map of, we're going to split the land into two, and they said to the Israelis, we'll have 51% of the land, I think it was, and Palestinians will have 45%. Obviously the Palestinians were like, well, no, like we're not going to give away half our land out of nowhere. So they didn't necessarily agree to that partition plan straight away. And then what happened is the British, who I'm going to very briefly talk about the history, by the way, guys. I don't want to, obviously this is a very complicated conflict, and I can again share links, but it's important for us to be aware as well of exactly what happened. So look, this is the UN partition plan, but then after Israel declared itself a state, and and the British left, there was a war for 2 years, and this is what was basically left. That after 1949, there was the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, controlled by Gaza by Egypt, the West Bank by Jordan, I think. And then Jordan, but then after 1967, it just became, they just carried on taking more and more and more land, and it became the occupied territories, and they just kept building settlements. And this is what's left of sort of the Palestinian territories that are very much still completely controlled by the Israelis, Gaza and the West. This is what bits that the Palestinians live on now, under their sort of half rule, but mainly it's completely occupied by military occupation there. And again, just what happened historically is, this goes back to 1917. It didn't just start on the 7th of October. That and this, by the way, I'm taking from the National Army Museum website. What happened is, in 1917, in order to win Jewish support for Britain's First World War effort, the British promised an establishment of the Jewish national home in Ottoman-controlled Palestine, but they also promised Arab nationalists that a united Arab country at the same time. So the British kind of promised the Arabs and the Jews at the same time. But then when the fighting ended in 1918 and the Ottoman Empire was in fact defeated, so the British said, oh, help us out and we'll give you the Arab state, and we'll give you a Jewish state. When they did get that help, though, they didn't deliver either promise. And then the British were there on a British mandate. There was a League of Nations created, and they said, okay, Britain, you kind of oversee this area of land. And they let the kind of the Jewish refugees come in, and the Holocaust happened, and they let loads of refugees come in, and then there was a big sort of tension started to rise between the Jewish immigrants coming in and indigenous Arabs. And then that's why in 1947, the United Nations recommended the partition of Palestine and the establishment of separate Arab and Jewish states. And then it was such a mess that the British basically just left in 1948. They just left, and when they left, the Israelis declared, okay, an Israeli state has been created. Okay, so that's how it all started basically. And ever since then, as I say, the Israelis just have taken more and more and more land because they have the support of the world superpowers, and the Palestinians, the Palestinian people, but they don't have a Palestinian state. They don't have their own law. If I went there, I went to the West Bank a few years ago, and you see it's an apartheid state. It's an apartheid state. Like the Palestinian people, they are treated as second-class citizens. They don't have the same rules. They don't have the same. They don't have passports. They have to go through checkpoints. They don't have the same rights to land and all sorts. It's very kind of unfair. Different rule for the different way of different laws for the Jewish Israelis and different rules for the laws for the Arabs, and that is what an apartheid state is. So anyway, I digressed there, but it's important to have a little bit of context of the history, I think. And again, I can share links, inshallah. Let me just checking the corner. So that's the direct strategy, guys, in how we support what we can do, inshallah. And again, we can share links, so they're all going around. But be active, guys. Be active. Now, the long-term indirect strategy is that we need to strengthen and unite the ummah. Look, guys, like this isn't something, this happens every few years, and subhanAllah, this time it seems a lot worse, but it happens. We get upset, and then, then there's a ceasefire, and we forget about the plight of the Palestinians, and then we just get back to our normal lives, and the ummah can't go on like this. So the long-term indirect strategy is that we need to strengthen and unite as an ummah. And this is how you do that. First of all, you have to develop yourself and your connection to Allah as individuals, because Allah says in the Quran in Surah Ra'd again that verily Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. Like if you want to change the condition of the ummah, it starts with ourselves. We need to change ourselves. We need to start that changing ourselves starts with that connection to Allah. Starts with changing our mindset, our mind, and what's our thoughts, our mindsets, and then our habits, and then working on our connection, inshallah, with Allah. So first we need to develop ourselves. And this is, by the way, in the Khadija Life Over, what we work on the mental health, the emotional health, the spiritual health, the mindsets first. And then you need to build yourself up physically as well. You need to become physically healthy. You need to eat healthy. This is all part of the strategy of us making a stronger ummah. We need to strengthen ourselves first, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Eating healthy, exercising, etc. Praying our salahs on time, having a good relationship with the Quran. It all starts with habits, again, which I help people develop in the Khadija Life Upgrade program. And then we need to, once we've developed ourselves, we've also learned strategies to be more productive with our time, to get the most of our time, to have our houses in order and everything in order on autopilot. And then we have the energy to then strengthen and develop the family unit. Like that's the next step in building a united ummah, is we need to strengthen and develop the family unit, okay, and our children. They're the future of the ummah. And then once we've got, strengthened our marriages, strengthened our family unit, strengthened our children, we then need to once we've got a sort of a house in order, as it were, then we'll have the energy to strengthen and unite and contribute to our immediate community. So we need to do that as much as possible as well. Strengthen, unite, contribute to your immediate community, and also support other community initiatives. Like at the moment, people are doing fundraisers for Palestine, different events. Like go and support those events as well. And once we unite and contribute to our immediate community, then we can then form national organizations like the British Islamic Medical Association. We can collaborate with, inshallah, like-minded people on a national scale. And then once we have these national organizations, we can form international alliances, communities, collaboration. We need to be united and support each other as much as possible. And again, in the Khadija Life Upgrade program, it's like we have people from all around the world. And one of my visions for that is having like people united from all over the world, like sisters, inshallah, growing together and inshallah supporting each other. So yeah, so that's the long-term action plan, inshallah. And by the way, like I know I've spoken quite a bit about the Khadija Life Upgrade program. Look, if you after this webinar you do want further, I know I spoke a lot here today. If you do want further emotional support as well as support with the habit formation goals, with your own individual goals, with your challenges, use this what's happening in the world, use it, like I say, as a wake-up call to like, I need to develop myself. I need to make sure I'm controlling my emotions, managing my time effectively. With this program, we work on managing ourselves internally. Our internal experience is about upgrading your internal experience of life, your emotional state, your spiritual connection with Allah, and also your external habits, your eating habits, so that you're losing weight consistently, your healthy weight, you're exercising consistently, praying salah consistently and with khushu, and building your Quran habits, and being productive with your time, and being an excellent contributor to society. That's what all these things we go into in the program. Being the best mum, daughter, wife you can be, being the best parent you can be. We cover parenting strategies, relationship strategies, everything I cover in this program. But not only is it the content I teach, but there's that coaching support from me directly, that personalized support from me, and an amazing community of sisters as well. So if you're interested in that, by the way, if you're interested in that program, if that sounds like something you might need, go to drhafsahcoaching.com/KLU. You can read about the program. You can apply for a call with me, because everybody who's interested, I want to build a relationship. I want to make sure that they're right for the program, and I want to make sure where they are in life, if I can support them properly before they join. So if you are interested, go there, book a call, read about the program, book a call with me, and we can take things from there. I can answer your questions about the program, inshallah. And, so go ahead and inshallah do that. Also, if you found today beneficial, follow me on Instagram, ask me questions. And now I can, inshallah, open it up to any questions that you may have. And we'll take, I know I've spoken a lot, so I hope you found that beneficial, inshallah. So any questions, guys? So hope you found it useful. I'm also gonna, if you can send me any feedback from today, that'll be great. I can't email. I'll share the recording, inshallah. So what I want to do, guys, is this. I want, as I say, is when this is the power of coaching. Today I've just spoken a lot, but when coaching is different, when you articulate your takeaways, when you articulate how it's going on for you, when you articulate what you're going to do, that's what makes the actual difference. That's where it makes a difference to your life. That's where, again, in KLU, like sisters, one of the unique things is people can just bring whatever's on their mind, and we can talk about it. We can create a plan, and then we can get that plan issue sorted out. So, what is it for, tell me, guys. I want to hear a little bit of what you've taken away from today, and what you're going to do to actually change, what you're going to do different as a result of this this program, this session tonight, sorry. Like, actually share. I want a few people to share, like, what have they found useful and what have they taken away from today? Because again, when you share that, when you share your insight, it might land for somebody else better than me articulating the takeaway, if that's it, if me articulating the point. So any questions, guys? Not to look at my phone first thing in the morning. Use the akhirah lens when viewing events. The dunya lens really shifted my perspective. Yeah, absolutely. Your thoughts are so powerful in determining your experience of life. Just remember that, inshallah. Build up your own reserves so you're able to, inshallah. Yeah. So what I might do, guys, if you've got a bit of time to hang around, is I'm going to pop you, whoever wants to stay, just pop you into breakout rooms, because I find breakout rooms are really, really powerful for you to share your takeaways with each other, and also just have that space to articulate what's been going on for you. So just for 2 minutes, I'm going to pop you in breakout rooms and just to share like your biggest takeaways. And also, as I say, if you can leave any feedback, I'd be really, really grateful. That going back, creating good habits. Yeah, as I say, if you want any support in creating those habits, do feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I'm going to pop you in breakout rooms now. Hope you found it useful. Any other questions? Anybody want coaching on anything, by the way? Anybody want to raise any points? What they found useful? To just feel free to raise your hand and take the mic, inshallah. So if you have any questions about the coaching, sisters, like just best thing to do is just send me a message or book a call. Yeah, it's just a 15-minute call, and then we can talk about, and I didn't really talk about the program today, but yeah, so feel free to just, as I say, send me, visit this web page, and then inshallah, that's got lots of information about the Khadija Life Outbreak program, and then just book a call with me, inshallah. And actually I'm running a bit of which is something I intended before this all broke out a little bit, but a discount at the moment on the program just until until next week. So anyway, if you do want to book a call, then feel free to book a call with me. So I'm going to pop you in breakout rooms. So it's really, really powerful. Only for maybe 5 minutes, just share what your biggest takeaway from today is, and how you're going to use that emotion you've been feeling, how you're going to use it to do, how you're going to use it to change something about yourself, as a wake-up call, and how you're going to channel that energy, either in your personal life or in a direct action to support the Palestinians, inshallah. So let me do that now. End the recording.